Welcome to the Kingdom Life Women podcast, where impact isn't about fitting into the perfect Christian mold or having it all together. Here, we believe that you don't have to be flawless to make impact in the kingdom. Tonight's guest, Andrea Harrison of Shine with Andrea, is bringing some truth. Get ready and settle in. You're going to be in great company tonight. It's just going to be us girls sitting around talking. So, Andrea, thanks for joining us tonight.
I am so happy to be here. This is going to be fun.
I love your glasses. The very first time I met you, I was like, I got to get some glasses like that. So I actually tried something like that because I thought it was so cute, and they just don't work for everybody, meaning me.
You just got to keep trying. You'll eventually find one that you love.
I love that. I love that. I wore glasses from the time I was a little kid. Like, I've had to wear glasses since I was in like third grade, actually in second grade. And you know how it is. People always call you four eyes. So I just decided whatever I needed to do in life to not have to endure that. And so I've worn contacts since I was literally in the fourth grade.
I didn't start needing glasses until I was in my 40s. I don't know what happened to my eyes, but these are actually readers. And I said, if I have to get glasses, then they're going to be fun. They express my personality.
I love that. Well, your pearl ones are my very favorite ones. I've seen you wear a couple of pair, but the pearl ones are the bomb. They are so cool. I love them.
Thank you.
So, well, Andrea, you currently live in Florida, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So tell everybody who you are, and you got to tell them where you're from because it plays into your whole story.
Well, my name is Andrea Harrison, the Chief Shine Officer and Show Up Strategist. I am the Chief Shine Officer of Shine with Andrea. I live in Florida. I'm originally from the Boogie Down Bronx.
What?
And, basically what I do now, I was a paralegal for over 25 years, but I'm an entrepreneur, and I also have my own, I guess you would say, podcast. I have been going live now for the past year and a half, every single weekday morning for the past year and a half. And it was something that I ran from God. He wanted me to do it. And I was like, nope, I don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. And he kept pursuing me. And here I am a year and a half later, and my life has been absolutely transformed. I always tell people I'm not a preacher. I'm not a pastor. I'm just a girl from the Bronx that wants to make God proud.
I love that. I love it when God tells us to do something we don't want to, and we're like, I'm never going to do that. And then the next thing you know, there you are, nevering like you've never before.
So true.
I love that. I love that. So what made you leave the Bronx and come to Florida? So
I came down here on vacation back in 1999. Excuse me. I came down here on vacation in 1999. I was managing a law firm in New York City. And I was on the phone, called the office just to check on everything because I was the manager of this entertainment law firm. And the attorney said to me that, we are dismantling the firm. Some stuff happened, and I don't think you're going to have a job to come back to. And I was like,
thanks for
what? Right? So the next phone call that I made was to my mom, who was still living in the Bronx. I was visiting with a family member, my aunt, who was very close to. And I was talking to my mom on the phone, and my aunt was sitting next to me. And neither one of them could hear each other. But my mother said at the same time that my aunt said, as I was telling the story, you need to move to Florida.
Wow.
I was like, who? Me? Absolutely not. I'm a city girl. I'm never leaving New York City. That was 23 years ago.
We're back to that. I'm never. And he's like,
I'm God's never child.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I'm going to make you a poster. I just think that's the funniest thing ever. I think it's so funny because he does it to me too. I think he has a special thing for us headstrong ladies, or us wild ones.
Absolutely.
Also, I assume you're not a paralegal anymore.
No, I'm not a paralegal anymore. I actually have my own business. For the past 7 years, I've been a part of a network marketing company, something that if you would have asked me, 7 years ago, if I would do something like that, I would tell you absolutely not. In fact, I did not join the company to sell anything. I didn't join the company to build a team. I literally joined for the discount. That was all that I wanted. And so I said to the person that I talked to, I'm never going to sell anything and I'm never going to build a team. There's that word again. And
Oh,
here I am 7 years later, and I'm one of the top leaders in the company.
wow. That's incredible. It's, all the things that you've told God thus far you're never going to do have turned out to be like the coolest things.
So it helps me to fund my dreams and to do the things that I want to do, like shine.
Yes. So you got to tell us about your program. First off, let me ask you this. Why did you make a commitment? Because I understand have my previous business was going live twice a week and it can be a lot. And although you may get on camera and look like you're having a great time, there were plenty of times I was crying my eyes out right before we went live,
Absolutely.
So what made you make that commitment?
So I was going live for my business,
Mhm.
sometimes once a week, sometimes 3, 4, 5 times a week.
Wow.
And God kept saying to me, I want you to go live every morning at 10 a.m., every weekday morning at 10 a.m. And he wanted it to be outside of what I was already doing. And I
Mhm.
didn't want to do that. I didn't think that I was good enough. I didn't think that anybody would come to the show. I didn't think I had anything to say. And one of my biggest fears was that I wouldn't remember, or I would just draw a blank in the middle of the show. And that would be so embarrassing. It's happened to me before. And I lose absolute confidence. And then everything just goes downhill from there. And so that's why I kept saying no. And he kept pursuing me and pursuing me and pursuing me. And I finally, two different people spoke to me like 5 days before I actually went ahead and hit the button when I said, okay, God, I heard you.
Yeah.
I got it. I'm not going to say no anymore. I'm going to do it. And one of the people said to me, one of the ladies didn't know what was going on, had no idea that I was having this ongoing conversation with God for years. And she said, your heart was made, God made your heart to be poured out.
That's
And then
good.
yes, yes. And it made me cry. And she said a lot of other things. And then I heard someone else on a podcast. She said that she was doing exactly what I knew God was telling me to do. So she was explaining to her audience what she's doing, how she's glorifying God. And so that was a Saturday for the first conversation, a Tuesday night for the second conversation.
Wow.
And I was so convicted. Wednesday morning, June 14th, 2023, I was live with an attitude like, listen, I'm
I know
here.
you were too.
I'm here because God told me I had to be here. I can't run anymore. And
Mhm.
I told my audience, I was straight up. I said, I don't know if I'm coming back tomorrow. So you're just gonna have to wait and find out. Because
Yeah, show.
I couldn't see myself, Carrie, going live every single day. Like
Yes.
that
It's
was
a
a
lot.
it's a lot. It's a
Mhm.
lot that has to happen behind the scenes. You know that.
Yes. Yes.
You know that.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. And so, I finally said yes. And I just took it one day at a time. And it was not perfect. It was not perfect. Everything was not in place. In fact, when I first started, I was just going live straight on Facebook,
Mhm.
vertical,
Yep.
just like, regular live. When now I'm using StreamYard, it looks more polished. I'm streaming onto YouTube. And so, things happen over a period of time, but we have to learn to trust God through the process, that we just have to start, because it's not about us, but it's about the people that he has assigned to us, the people that he wants us to serve and make an impact in their lives.
So you mean it's not about all us? No, not all about us? Okay.
Not about you, boo.
I told you that's my story too. So I'm dying to know, do you go live for just a few minutes or do you go for an hour or do you just go until you're done?
I go until he's done.
I love it.
And let me explain this to you. I was so afraid. I kept saying, I don't know that I'm going to be able to talk for 15 minutes. Now, I am not I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, I am not shy. If I know what I'm talking about, I will stand up in front of any crowd, any amount of people, and I will talk. But the fact of the matter is, I didn't know what I was going to be saying. And I had to
Wow.
learn to trust God. I had to learn to stand on Psalms 81:10. He said that when you open your mouth, I will fill it with good things.
Come
And it
on.
took a long time for me to really perfect that, in a sense, because I was still very scared. So where I thought I couldn't last for 15 minutes, much less 30 minutes or an hour, we have had days where we've gone as long as 3 hours.
What?
Yes. And that is only,
Wow.
yes. And that is only because the way that I grew up, the church that I grew up in, Pentecostal,
Mhm.
you don't put a time limit on God. You don't put a time limit on the Holy Spirit. And if God is moving and people are being, their lives are being impacted, they're being transformed. I am his hands and his feet. I'm his vessel. And I'm gonna say what needs to be said for as long as it needs to be said. Now, I do try to keep it to a certain period of time.
Yeah.
I do try to, because I know what it's like in the replay. You look at a video and you're like, 4 hours, I'm not watching that.
Yeah.
So I do try to keep it to a certain amount of time, but every once in a while, it'll be, an hour and a half, 2 hours, but the thing is that the audience is there.
Mm-hmm.
They're there the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in my audience, the Shine Crew, hashtag Shine Crew, they are
Woohoo!
the best audience ever. They are so
Wow.
interactive. And that is actually where our community was birthed, right in the comment section of my live.
Wow. So do you go live? Do you have a Facebook group that you go live into, or how can people find you when you go live in the mornings?
So I'm glad you
That's
asked.
what I
I
am.
actually go live on my public page, Shine with Andrea. So that would be, you could just search up Shine with Andrea.
Uh-huh.
It is actually facebook.com/Shine with Andrea. And so it's on a public page where anybody can watch. I do have a private group for the Shine Crew, and it also streams live to YouTube. And that page is also Shine with Andrea. So anybody who wants to watch can tune in. They can watch the replays on Facebook or on YouTube.
So I have a question about this whole show up strategist, but I want to ask you this first. Do you remember the very first time that you went live? Which
Actually, I
one?
went live before I started my business and before I started Shine with Andrea. I went live with my daughter, who, I don't know if I told you about my daughter. She started her own business when she was 7 years
No.
old. Yes. So before all of this, right? Let's rewind. Before all of this, in between the time that I was a paralegal, I ended my paralegal career and then started with my network marketing business. I started my own event decor business. So
Cool.
I'm actually an award-winning tablescape designer. I have spent probably about a year and a half doing live presentations for CBS News, the local
Yeah.
affiliate for
Yeah.
here in our area, their talk show every morning. I did that for a little over a year. So that was something that I started from the ground up. It was something that was exciting for me. But at that same time, my daughter said, she was 7, she says, if mommy can start a business, well, I want to start a business too. And I said, okay, well, what kind of business do you want to start? And so, she had a couple of ideas, but what
Mhm.
stuck was taking pictures of little girls with their dolls. And so she wanted to take pictures of little girls, including foster children, because she had just watched Annie and it touched her
Oh,
heart. And so she
God.
says, Mommy, they don't have a mommy like you that just
Oh.
takes pictures all the time. They have nothing. When they get older, they're not even going to know what they looked like when they were little. And
At
so,
7 years old, she
7 years
actually
old,
thought about that.
Yes. And so she said, I want to be a photographer. And so what happened was she reached out to one of my friends who had a photo studio locally here in the area. And she said, can I rent your studio? And so, and she
Who's going
said,
to tell her no?
my friend was like, sure. What do you need to rent it for? And she said, well, I'm starting this photography business and I want people to know that I'm not a baby. And so I need people to see me in action and I need exposure so that, I can market my business. 7.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
my friend said, sure. She said, well, you asked me to rent it because of course she wouldn't have charged her a penny. But since
Right.
she brought up renting, she says, well, how much can you afford? So she said, I can afford $2 an hour for 3 hours.
That's awesome. She said,
And,
okay, done.
right. And so we
Right.
were there for several hours. She took so many pictures. She would not stop to eat at 7. She would not stop. She was very serious, very focused, and it showed me a lot. It taught me a
I
lot.
bet.
Yes. And so from there, everything just exploded. She caught the eye of our local newspaper, the local television station. Then she ended up on a national television station where they asked her, if you could photograph anybody in the world, who would it be? And very nonchalantly, she said, the president of the United States.
Right on.
And so, I'm saying to myself, why did you say that? Like, you can't photograph the president of the United States. And Carrie, let me tell you something. She did it.
What?
She did it. She did it. She did it. She was so determined to make this dream happen because the reason why she said the president of the United States is because she said, if I can do it, then all the kids that see me do it, they will believe that whatever they put their mind to, that they can do it too. And
Well, I
so,
think we can just go home because I need to go get my life together, apparently.
listen, it helped me to get my whole life together, okay?
You're like, I got to step my game up. So what
Right?
president did she photograph?
This was in 2016. Yeah, 2016. So at the time, it was President Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at an event that former First Lady Michelle Obama and Oprah Winfrey put together. And so then what happened is, so she did that event. And while I watched her take pictures of the president as he was on stage, she was so focused. The Secret Service took her to the front. They gave her a step stool to stand on, and she snapped away. She took like 987 pictures of him, and she was not afraid at all. And what happened was before we got there, Fox News met us at the airport, interviewed her, and they told the whole of Tampa Bay that, Photos with Madison, that this is what she's going to do. Her dream finally came true. When we got to DC, Fox met us there, and they told Washington, D.C. that this little girl, 9 years old at the time, it took 2 years to happen. 2 years, and she never gave up. And she accomplished so much within that set 2-year period. She never said it's taken too long. She never said I'm too old now. A lot of people, that's what we say, right? She never said I'm not going to do it anymore. She stayed the course, never gave up, pushed past her quit. And when she finally got up there, I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, it hit me as an adult. The fear. What if she doesn't get the picture? What if it's blurry? What if it's just completely pitch black? What happens if she doesn't get this picture? So I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so embarrassing. What if she fails? And as adults, that's where we go. What if I fail? But sis, what if you win? And that is what my daughter taught me. She did not care about the negative Nancy's. She didn't care about the people saying to her, well, what are you doing here? She didn't care about, oh, your mom brought you here today? She was like, no, I brought my mom.
My mom rode with me.
And, the White House sent me press pool media credentials so that I could be here today to photograph the president. And
This
I'm like,
child.
yes.
So
And
I have
so,
to know, what is Madison doing now?
well, let me just
She's
say
not
this.
running for president. That's the, yeah,
Listen, I told her I was going to write her name in on the ballot. Um,
that's right.
but so right after that, she had the opportunity to be a guest on Steve Harvey's show, his national
Oh, I love him.
for extraordinary kids. And they, between Steve Harvey and he worked it out with Canon, they gifted her her own camera. It's a $4,000 camera
Wow.
with different lenses and everything. And so that's the camera that she's been taking pictures with. She also, Steve had her on the red carpet of several movie premieres where she
Oh,
interviewed, took pictures with selfies, interviewed Oprah Winfrey, John Legend, T.D. Jakes, Tyler, like so many amazing things.
are you like, yes, I'm her mom. Thank you. I'm her mom. I'm with her. I'm with Madison.
But what
Coolest story I've ever heard.
what she taught me is
Wow.
that never give up on your dreams. Never
Yes.
give up on your dreams. You got to come out of the shadows. You can't hide, right?
Yeah.
And you have to keep your gifts on display because that 2 year period that she was waiting and using the hashtag help Madison meet POTUS, all those years, she stayed focused. She did several weddings. She was the photographer for several weddings. She did lots of different entrepreneur events and conferences. She was a keynote speaker for adults, for children. She did a lot of different things because she had a focus. She had a plan. She knew what she wanted. And so, it really taught me a lot to like, we can't give up. We can't say, well, it's not going the way we wanted it to go, or, I'm scared to start. She jumped out of her comfort zone and she just said, I just trust God with my future. And so she's about to turn 18 this month in about two
Wow.
weeks. She's about to turn 18 and we were homeschooling her from the time of the pandemic till this year. And she was actually dual enrolled at a local college, a state college. But when she realized that what she wanted to do, she wants to pursue art and music, and she would like to go to school in Korea, she realized that she had to go back and do her last year at a high school. So she
Mm.
took herself, she was 16 when she started college and she was 17 when she dropped out of college just so she could go back to college.
That's funny.
But so now she is, she's pursuing everything that she ever wanted to do. She's making the best of this last year in high school, getting ready to go to college. I don't know exactly where she'll end up, but I
Mhm.
know, she was a miracle child and God has her in the palm of his hands.
For real. Does she still want to be a photographer?
She still wants to do photography. So she really loves the arts. So she wants to do photography. She composes music. She plays several different instruments. She writes. She has a blog that is just out of this world. She's a phenomenal writer. Like the only problem that she has with writing is when they say you only have 250 words because most of her essays are like 5,000 words.
She's like, I'm a book writer, not a paragraph writer.
Right, right.
Wow.
So she's my inspiration. She really
I
like,
bet.
yeah, I mean, and she has so much faith and confidence in me and she's an encouragement to me, and I'm just so grateful for her,
So you
especially.
can't fail. That's not even an option for you because, let's face it, none of us, I mean, we always want our kid to do better than us, but I mean, Madison, that's ridiculous. Like, you have some big shoes to fill. That is just the most amazing thing. And I love it, just sounds like she really had no fear. Was there a point where she thought maybe it wasn't going to work or she got fearful or was she just on from the beginning?
She just believed that it was going to happen. She just knew it was
Wow.
going to happen. And she just kept going every day. And, she would always say, Mommy, you posted today? Because she was young, so she couldn't have her own social media
Yeah.
account. And she said, you posted today? I said, yes, Madison. She said, did you use the hashtag? Yes, Madison. So that was like her big thing. You have to use the hashtag because that was how the White House found
That
her.
was her tagline. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. That
Yeah.
first off, let me just tell you, Andrea, you have done such a good job raising this child.
Thank you. I didn't do it
Clearly,
alone, Carrie. I didn't do it alone. Didn't do
you
it alone.
know, it comes from watching you. I just know that I know that. And it's amazing. I very often think, and I love that Madison said this too. I very often think like how many kids that are in foster care, when they grow up, had they had someone to say, no, baby, live your dreams. Yes, you can photograph the president. Heck yeah, girl, you can. I'm gonna take you there. You know, it would be so amazing had they grown up like that, or had we grown up like that. I just love that. And I hope, I just bless her. I hope that she continues this trajectory. Talk about a world changer.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
that's incredible. You didn't have the option to ever really not succeed because you got this daughter back behind you cracking the whip. So when you decided that you would kind of branch off now and do your own thing, did you still have fear?
Yes, I absolutely did have fear because, it's always the fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
Am I making the right decision?
Mhm.
And so when I had to close my event decor business down,
Mhm.
and so that was a lot for me because
Yeah.
I had put so much into it for 3 years. I was now this, sought after designer. I was an
Mhm.
award winning designer. People in this area, that's what they know me for. I built this business only to have to say, I got to close the doors because Madison kept having all of these amazing opportunities pop up. And I couldn't tell a bride, sorry, but I'm not
Right.
going to show up this weekend, you know?
Plus, she
And
would fire you, Madison.
right.
So yeah.
And then sue me.
Right. Sue you and probably win. That's right.
Right. And so, it was scary for me because, especially, let's go back to me being a paralegal,
Yeah.
and I was a paralegal for 25 years
Yeah, that's a
and
long time.
for a very long time.
Mhm.
And so I built that business at the tail end of my paralegal career. And so when I retired as a paralegal, I had my business. But when I walked away from the business,
Yeah, nothing.
I had nothing
Mm.
but God.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm not even going to talk about the financial part of it. I'm going to
Right?
heart part of it because I allowed my job and my title as a senior paralegal, and, it was a big time position. I
Mhm.
allowed it to define me.
That's
And
who
so
you were. Yeah.
now it was like everything was stripped from me.
Is that like in the first 6 months?
It was ugly.
Yeah.
It was ugly. It was ugly. Now we went from, being over 100,000 K home to
Mhm.
now just about half of that,
Mhm.
right? And having to stretch everything so thin. And then a lot of these opportunities that she had, some of them she was paid for, but, some of them didn't include paying for her parents to come along as well.
Right.
And so where some people would always see me on TV and see her on TV and see us doing all of these amazing things, and they would say, "Oh, must be nice. You live in
Mhm.
high in the hog now," where they didn't know that there were times that I would be praying just to get across the bridge and back on the
Yeah.
gas that was already in the tank.
People don't see the behind the scenes. They just see the picture. Yeah.
They see all of the glory, right? They see all of the glory, but they don't know the story.
No.
They don't know what
No.
you've been through to get to where
That's right.
you are.
Yeah. I think that's how the enemy lulls us into comparison so
Yeah.
often.
Mhm.
Oh, I wish I had what she had. Well, do you want to do what she had to do to get there?
Right. Most
There's
people don't.
always a story. I
Mhm.
love that.
Mhm.
So you ended up leaving. Madison's living, the dream life. You're traveling the world with her and meeting all these, fancy people, all the presidents and whatnot.
That's her word, fancy. You're doing all this
Fancy,
fancy.
all the fancy people. That's what my son always says too. That's where I got it from. So as you begin to, and believe me, I'm real acquainted with the detox period that comes when you're trying to unravel your identity.
Mhm.
And one of the things I said to God a lot was, I don't even know who I am anymore. And I'm sure you dealt with that too.
I did because I let the job title, because I let,
Mhm.
senior paralegal define who I was. Once I was stripped of everything, I was no longer this, paralegal. I was only at the time, for a very short period of time after that, a designer. But to me, my whole, I was this paralegal. So now I'm going to different events and trying to, network as an entrepreneur, and people asking, what do you do? And, I don't feel that successful. I can no longer say, oh, I'm a paralegal and I do this and I do that. And so I kept saying to myself, well, who am I really? What do I have to offer? What do I have to offer? And I remember someone sharing with me, and I remember a conversation that I had. And then I remember it was almost like God whispered to me
Mm.
and said, people don't care about what you look like. They don't care what your position is. There are people out there that they are tying a knot at the end of their rope and then
Yeah.
tying another knot. They need hope, and they want what you bring to the table, which is me.
Love that. Love that. I love how he always boils it down to the real, real.
Yes.
So, as you were walking through this period, I mean, let's real talk. Did you get mad at God at any point?
I didn't get mad at him. I didn't get mad, but I questioned, like, what am I doing? You know,
Mhm.
what am I supposed to do with my life? And I just felt like that was the common thread, just asking, what am I supposed to do with my life? Because I was this paralegal, then I wasn't. I had this business, then I didn't.
Mhm.
Now I'm a momager,
A
and
momager. I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
of this kidpreneur. And although I was very proud of her, and although I was the wind beneath her wings, and I absolutely loved doing everything that we did together, there was still a part of me as a woman who said, there's got to be more for me.
Yeah, I need something.
I
Yeah.
I needed something for me. So when I stumbled upon this business, and I was buying so much of the product that I just started hoarding the product, and I just said, you
You're
know
like, "I
what?
need to sell some of this."
I said, I'm just gonna join. And that's what I did. And I did not know that when I joined, that it would not just answer so many questions for me, or answer rather so many prayers for me.
Yeah.
Not only would it sustain us at a very time in our lives where, we really needed God, right? It sustained us, but God did above and more than we could ever ask
Mm.
with that business. The people that I met, or I'm still meeting,
Yeah.
the relationships, huge. And then what God did through me, and how he grew me, and the things that he taught me, and what he's allowed me to do. It's like it's been my boot camp, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
for the things that he's calling me to do in the future. And
Yeah.
so, yes, there were times when I was very afraid. There were times where I was very unsure.
Mhm.
But the one thing that had been constant, especially my husband of now 23 years, he would always say to me, everything's going to be okay.
Hmm.
Everything's going to be okay. And so, where I'm just like, he's, everything's going to be okay. It's going to be
Yeah.
all right. We're going to get through this together.
That's
And,
good. That's
and
good.
so that's kind of what has carried me and has allowed me to every time, it hasn't been all a bed of roses, right?
Yeah. The whole YouTube thing about how life is grand and you're rolling in the money. You mean you aren't burning money like for firewood and things like that? No.
No,
Okay.
no. And you have your ups and your downs,
Yeah.
right? But I can tell you this, that God is faithful. He's faithful. He's faithful throughout it all.
Yeah.
Absolutely faithful. He's always been there. He's always provided, even if it was at the 11th hour. He's always provided. And so I'm grateful as I look back and I see, just how he's brought us through. And I'm excited because I know that whatever is coming next, I know it's going to be big. I can feel it in my bones, and I'm just hanging on for the ride because I
Yes. I,
know who
I would tell
holds
you, I
tomorrow.
don't think he does things halfway in your life. I think like, there you go. There's all of it. Sort it out. I think it's going to be big too. And I think when God gives you something, especially when it's something that maybe you don't understand, I hear a lot of people talk about how God takes things. And I used to believe that. And now I'm like, he did not take anything. What he did was he had to give me something, which was a
Yes,
new identity.
yes.
And I love how he grows us in those moments
Mhm.
where the only thing we can do is literally put one foot in front of the other.
Oh, I
It's
say that
like,
all the time.
that's the
That's my
deal. That's the
line.
test.
That's
Yeah.
my line. I always say it. And I tell people, you just got to put one foot in front of the other,
Yep.
and,
Yes.
and just trust that he's going to be there to take us the rest of the way.
Yeah. And trust that, sometimes what we see is not truth. And
Hmm.
most of the time, what we feel is not truth. Years ago, I say years ago, a couple of years ago, I just made this kind of pact with myself that I was going to stop talking about what I saw
Hmm.
and literally, I mean, some people call it prophecy, but begin to speak what hasn't come into existence yet. And you
Yes.
know what? For me, that started with my feelings. I did for you as well, when I closed my business. And
Hmm.
I remember being angry at God. But the truth is, I would have never let go of it by myself. You would have never let go of that paralegal job by yourself.
No.
And so sometimes he's like, he has to pry our hands open. And then we look back and we're like, golly, I wish I'd not had fought that hard. This is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We say that we trust God, but do
Mhm.
we really?
But do we really?
Do we really? And it's not about just trusting him, but it's believing that he's going to do it.
Yeah.
It's believing it and knowing that we're worthy. Many people look back over the course of their life and they think because they've made mistakes in their past that, they're damaged goods. And
Yeah.
so, I need the women, and if they're men listening too, I need them to know they are not damaged goods, that God created them. He designed them. They are his masterpiece.
Yeah.
He gave them everything that they need to succeed. Our purpose in life, we spend so much time, and I did this as well. What is my purpose? What is my purpose? Our
Mhm.
purpose have to be found. We don't have to search for it. It's not lost. Our purpose, we all have the same
Yeah.
purpose,
That's
which is
right.
to point people to Jesus.
Come on,
How
preach
we
that. I love that.
how we do it, Carrie, is what is different. That's why we have to keep our gifts on display. I
I love
believe I would never have met you if my gifts weren't on display.
That's right.
And there are other opportunities that I'm sure that you wouldn't have come across if you didn't keep your gifts on display. We got to
Mhm.
give God something to work with.
Absolutely. And sometimes he doesn't need a lot. I try to tell people, he can do a lot with a couple of stones. I mean, he
Mhm.
doesn't need you to bring much. He just needs you to bring something. And
Something.
sometimes that's just tears. Sometimes that's
Yes.
just a broken heart. And he's
Yes.
like, that's all I needed. I got this, you
All he
know?
needs is a heart that
Yeah.
is in position, a heart that is a heart posture towards him. That's
Yes.
what he needs. He needs a heart that'll say yes,
Yeah.
that'll
That's
say,
right.
Yes.
And I positions in my life where the only way I would say yes was for him to allow me to live the consequence of the decision I made just previously. He
Mm,
had to allow me to be in the brokenness to
yes.
be able to say yes because I wouldn't have otherwise.
Right. Right.
So I got to tell you, Andrea, I just love you. I love your personality. I love Madison. I don't ever want to meet Madison because I feel like that would just, I don't know. I just would feel like I needed to start 4 new businesses. But I love that you have imparted that to your daughter
Mhm.
and that your daughter has imparted that to you. I just
Yeah.
think that's spectacular.
Yeah.
So I know now you're in this whole new season. You've been going live. How long have you been going live every weekday? A year and a
Um,
half? Is that what you said?
yes, it's been since June of 2023. So I think
Dang.
in like 2 days, I think it's going to be a year and 5 months.
Do you plan out what you're going to talk about, or do you just show up and let it roll?
So for the first about 9 months, I was doing the devotional 100 Days of Believing Bigger by Marshawn Evans Daniels because I was afraid to open my mouth and I didn't trust God to
Mhm.
fill it at that time. And so it was almost like, I think it was almost like a crutch for me. As long as I had this book and I could read it, then I'd have something to talk about. We actually did that book 3 times. 100
Wow.
days, 3 times. But my Shine crew wanted me to do it. And the thing is that every time we did it, Carrie, guess what? It hit different because we were
Absolutely.
different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Different. And so then after that, we did the Prayer of Jabez by Bruce Wilkinson. And that was
Mhm.
31 days. Both books, life changing, absolutely life changing. And then just this past week, starting last Monday, a couple of days before is when God laid it on my heart to do a study on the fruit of the Spirit. Part of the reason why I was kind of like, okay, God, what do we do next is because we finished the 31 days and I wanted to do the armor of God, but the book
Mhm.
hadn't come in yet. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You could have made that book get here, you
That's
know?
right.
And so I said, okay, I will do a 9-day study on the fruit of the Spirit. No devotion, just the Bible. I will open my mouth and I
Mm.
trust you to fill it. And so that's what I've done since last Monday. Today was faithfulness. Tomorrow's gentleness, and then Thursday is the last day, self-control. And then I have an amazing guest on, an author. She wrote the book Grace Over Grind.
Yeah.
She's going to be our guest on Friday, and then on Monday, then we'll start the Armor of God. So, to answer your question, I don't ever know what's going to be said. I read
Right.
most of the time. I read, and then God just I literally, when I tell you, I open my mouth and He fills in. If you ever see me close my eyes and talk, it's like it's not me anymore. The
Yeah.
words that are coming out are really inspired by the Holy Spirit.
Mm.
And so I don't plan it. I never read ahead, so I really don't know what the day is, except for this last week where, I've prepared like slides and things like that. And then I always just allow God to speak through me because, I'm flawed. And I don't want to lead anybody the wrong way. As I
Yeah.
said, I'm not a pastor. I'm not a preacher. I'm just a girl from the Bronx who wants to make God smile. And so I just want to be a vessel. I just want people to know that there is hope in Jesus and that they're not alone and that he has a hope and a future for them regardless of what's going on in their lives. I want them to understand that our joy comes from the Lord and we can still have joy even though everything is crumbling around us.
Yeah.
And see, I
Yeah.
think what we don't understand is that when everything is crumbling, that's when God is building us up. And he does have a future for us, even if we don't feel like we're worthy. And so I just want to do his will. That's all I want. I want to do his will. And I'm not playing about it either. I'm not playing about it. It's not a game for me, and I'm not doing it to be well known or anything like that. I really just want people to know what I've known. I want people to know the God that saved me. I want people to know the God that has been there for me and what he's done in my life. He can do it in theirs.
That's so good. That is so good. And there is no doubt in my mind that you have impacted thousands upon thousands of women. And the seeds that you plant now, you may get to see some of them, but you'll never get to see all the impact that you've made simply by showing up and being you. That's it.
Yeah.
Showing up and being you.
That's what I teach them how to show up. I teach them about
Talk
going
about that. Tell us what it is to be a show up strategist. I love this term.
So, see, the thing is that there was a time in my life where I really didn't know what I was doing about going live, right? I didn't understand what going live was, and that there was like a whole strategy behind it. And so I met a woman who is now a very, very close friend of mine, and her name is Rashonda Pratt, and she wrote this book, The CEO of Live Video.
Oh,
So
wow.
So she actually, this is the second edition. This one is the first one. And if you could see.
Wow.
She used to be a CBS, what do you call it? She used to be on the CBS morning shows and an anchor, not an anchor, a journalist, oh gosh, a producer. She was on TV, on the news.
whatever that is.
Yes. And so we've become very close friends now. And actually, this book, the one that she just released earlier this year, she actually dedicated this book to me.
Oh, wow.
She actually dedicated this book to me. And it was so heartfelt. And the reason why is because I learned so much from this book. I mean, it literally changed my lives. Literally. I learned so much from this book. And especially because of the work that I do, I felt like everybody who goes live, who wants to go live, needs to read this book. And so I told everybody about it. I've had several conferences and I've always welcomed her to come and be a speaker at my conference. And so she wrote and dedicated, she said, and to Andrea Harrison, an unparalleled champion of this message, I extend my sincerest thanks. Andrea, your tireless efforts in spreading the word about CEO of Live Video have not gone unnoticed. When I penned this book, I had brilliant women and men like you in mind.
And Andrea, that's incredible.
Yes. And so this book is what helped to shape me as far as going live and knowing that when you press that button, we don't do. So I'm just going to wait for a few more people to show up. That's a no-no.
That's a
right?
no-no.
Understanding, just all of the different nuances with going live and treating it like you do, like I do, like a well-produced television show, right? Knowing about your lighting, knowing about a background, just, engagement and all of that stuff, you're engaging with your audience. And so I was such an ambassador of the book that I learned so much from it. I've taught on it and I'm actually teaching on it right now as well. And so that is what helped to shape me and my live experience.
That's incredible. I just, I remember how difficult it was in my first days of learning how to go live. And when I began to go live, very few people were doing it. In fact, I kind of pioneered it within my industry. And I remember thinking, of all the things that could go wrong, and they did. I was in the middle of a live show one night, and all of a sudden behind me, the ceiling began to drip. And I was trying to act like, I saw it. I was hoping nobody else saw it. But pretty soon it then became a trickle. And then pretty soon it became a monsoon. And then the whole ceiling tile fell out.
Oh my
We
God.
have had bats fly in the room while I'm live. We had a guy come, our original store had a glass front. And so we had a guy, and I was live, and he was banging on the door. And I've always had somebody that has my husband's phone number. And I'm like, hey, call my husband, tell him there's a dude at the door. I mean, when you're live, you don't get to hide it. Like
Right.
whatever happens, happens.
Right. Do
It's
you remember
always
that guy?
crazy.
Do you remember that guy? I think it was BBC, where his baby, he was on with, I think, CNN or something like that, and his baby came running in the room behind him, and you could see the door, and then his wife came in, and she was like crawling, and she dragged him, dragged the kid out and closed the door. It was the funniest thing, and I always
I've not ever seen that. That's
Rashonda
funny.
and
I
I,
think I'll look it up on YouTube. That's
yes,
hysterical.
Rashonda and I talk about that often, and I say, he was so like, he should have just. I wish that he would have just like
Acknowledged it.
just
Yeah.
acknowledged it,
Yeah.
go with the flow, just make it happen. But I probably wouldn't have had I not read her book.
Right, exactly. That's incredible. I didn't even know that anything like that existed. So I have to look that up because, I find going live like fascinating and amazing. Tell people what they can do to be part of your Shine crew. And please don't leave out the part about your adorable shirts.
Oh,
I love those shirts. I'm ordering them.
thank you. Thank
I
you.
want something that says I'm on the Shine crew. The only reason I didn't order it yesterday is I didn't know whether I wanted black or white.
Well, there are lots of other shirts on there.
Those two I really like.
I wore one yesterday or the day before that said I was made to shine for
I saw
God's
that.
glory. I
Okay.
have one called the Shine Effect, and there's a whole story behind that that'll be revealed soon. But basically, that is what happens when you're a part of the Shine crew, is that you come in, your life gets transformed if you are obedient and you allow God to work through you, and you don't give up on yourself and you don't give up on him. And then when you start showing up, then you give permission to other people to show up, and then they start showing up, and it becomes this shine effect, the ripple effect. Anybody can come and watch me live on Shine with Andrea on Facebook. Also Shine with Andrea on YouTube. I have a website with an ebook, a free ebook. So if you go to shinewithandrea.com, you'll get a free copy of my ebook, and you can get the shirts.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I love them. I saw them yesterday. I just thought they were the cutest things. Maybe I could get a cute t-shirt and some cute glasses too. So
Maybe one day. Maybe one
that's
day.
right. That's right. In fact, I'm trying to figure out how to get you down to Texas. I feel like y'all need to move to Texas right now, just immediately. To Houston. You and I would be unbearable. Nobody would be able to be in the same room as us. It would
Oh
just
my
be,
gosh. Well,
it would be fantastic.
I would love to come
So
and visit. I'd love to hang out
you
with
got
you.
a place to stay anytime you want to come.
Thank you.
Anytime you want to come. And you have to bring Madison. That's the rule. Because I got to be this is
Absolutely.
like a
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to get my 15-year-old to clean his room. That's it. Like you don't have to start a business or take a picture of the president. Just put your clothes
There
up,
you go.
son. That's just to help me a little bit. So what would you say as we're wrapping up to the person that has watched this and they're like, that's all great for Carrie and Andrea, but there's something inside them that maybe the reason that they can't step forward is because it's scary for them to be seen. It's hard for them to put themselves out there. What would you say to that person?
Well, we really have to say, okay, we got to sit down, we got to pray, we got to ask God, what is it that you would want me to do? How do you want me to show up? How do you want me to shine? I think that God will reveal to you exactly, how you're supposed to show up. Now, I don't think everybody belongs on live, right? But there are other ways that we can show up in life that go along with our personality, and I think we just need to connect with our creator on that because, like I said, he created us. He designed us specifically for the work that we're supposed to do. And I often tell people, sometimes your childhood gives you clues. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when I was 11 years old and younger, I had my own radio show. Now, of course,
Wow.
my mother was the only one that could listen,
But hey,
but I had a boom box and I would take the cassette tapes. Now I'm really telling my age.
right, right, right.
I would take the cassette tapes and I would record and I would just have a talk show. And that's always been my dream, is to have a talk show. And so here I am now.
Having a talk show. Yeah.
Tell me I don't have a talk show. Shine with Andrea every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
That's
That's my
right.
talk show, right? And whether God is going to do something bigger with that or not, the fact is he just wants us to start, and he really wants us to trust him, right? So whatever it is, just start somewhere. Start somewhere. What I learned from my pastor, my childhood pastor, just start serving.
Yeah.
Find a place, plug in and serve. Maybe that's at your church. And when you serve, then you're going to see what you're really good at, what you like doing, right? And people will see, oh, wow, she's really good at that. She's doing that right now, but she would really be good doing this. And then when you put yourself in a position to serve God's people, that helps you to navigate. And then you kind of end up right where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But you got to start. You got to start somewhere. You got to put one foot in front of the
That's
other.
right. That's right. Sometimes I think you just have to do it scared, right? Going to a coffee shop and meeting some women for a Bible study, or it's going live 852 days out of every year. Whichever.
129 hours a day.
Oh, Lord. I got to ask, just because I understand this world so well, and the people that watch me, the people that know me, they know me. So a lot of them know me from I always say my last life. Those days when you just don't want to put on makeup and that's the whole reason you don't go live. Do you have days like that?
I do. In
Do you
fact,
still go live?
I do. Yes, I
Love
do.
it.
I always go live. I think the only two times that I didn't go live is because I had to go to the doctor. I was very sick.
Mm.
In fact, one morning I thought I was having a heart attack. And so my husband said, you need to get dressed and we're going to call the ambulance and he said, I'm going to take you to the hospital. And I said, okay. Right after I finished my live.
Right? I'm going to go live and then we'll go. If I die on the live, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's fine.
And everybody was like, Andrea, get off the live and go.
That's so amazing.
But on the days when I really feel bad, like there was one particular day, and there were many like it, but there was one particular day that it was the last time that I had to learn how to deal with that day and not have any more like it. Because you have to be able to push things aside and keep doing what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And I remember one particular day I said, I don't want to go live. I was upset. I was going through stuff. I didn't want to go live. I said, I don't want to shine today. I don't want to shine.
I will not shine.
I am not shining today. And I went live, and the live was like 4 minutes and like 32 seconds. I read the devotion, and I said, that's all I got. I got nothing else for you. And that was it. But I showed up, Carrie. I showed up, and so many people said, because you continue to show up on your good days, on your bad days, you have inspired me to keep going. And now I know what it means to show up. And so there's a strategy to all of this. And I love to teach it to women. I love to coach women. I love to encourage them, because God has given me insight where I can look at somebody and say, man, not that I see your potential, I see your purpose. And sometimes we just need somebody to say, you can do this, and I'm going to lock arms with you and do it with you. And so it's just amazing to see how, the women just blossom. There have been so many that have done the 100 Days of Believing Bigger. In fact, Marshawn Evans Daniels, she came on my 1-year anniversary live. And hung out with us, on that day where my Shine crew was just giving me my flowers, and she spoke into my life and into Madison's life. That day was phenomenal.
Incredible. Yeah, I bet. Wow.
Yeah.
And just think, if you would have given up at any point, that would not have happened.
Exactly.
Do you
Exactly.
know what's on the horizon for you? Do you know what's next?
I don't
I
know
heard a
exactly.
little teaser in there.
Well, the one thing that I am working on is I am working on a book. It started out as a devotional, but it's kind of turned into more lessons that I've learned along the way. So I'm working on a book, and I'm also working on an anthology with the Shine Crew.
Incredible.
Yes. And it's
Yes,
called
I
the Shine.
love that.
It's called the
So
Shine.
soon I will have to introduce you as Andrea Harrison, world famous author. I'm always looking to the future, always looking to the future. I have loved this. I appreciate, one of the things I appreciate the most about you, even from the time we very first met, it's not often as women that we meet people that we feel like we can just be ourselves with. And I feel it. And so I know other women feel it too, that they can just be who they are with you. And that's such the heart of Jesus. That's
Yes.
such the heart of Jesus, that you just allow people to be themselves. And I'm just so appreciative of that. And thank you for what everyone does not know is Andrea agreed to do this very last minute for me because we had some technical difficulties and just jumped in there and just blessed me incredibly. And so thank you for that. Thank you for giving of your time and of your heart to all of these women. And I can't wait for the books. I cannot wait for the books. I know they're going to be amazing. So any last words, any parting thoughts?
Well, I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity, for sharing your platform with me and giving me the opportunity to speak into the lives of the people that you are most craziest about. So I thank you for that. And I want to encourage you to keep going, to keep shining, because you were made to shine. One of the things that Marshawn said in her book is that when God created light, he was giving us permission to shine. And
That's so
so,
good.
yes, you are a bright light, Carrie. Keep shining, because there's so many women that need you. On your darkest days, I want you to remember that you are the light because Jesus Christ lives within you. And so for everyone that is watching, make sure you share this with somebody else and continue to support your girl, Carrie, because she's doing kingdom work for kingdom women. So thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. I received that and I appreciate that. And you are definitely a kingdom impactor. So thank you guys so much for joining us for this episode. Remember, you can find Andrea on Facebook at Shine with Andrea, or you can go also to YouTube and find her live. And everybody be blowing up your lives tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So
And
she
TikTok.
said she's watching for you. There you go. You better show up. She said
Yeah.
she's from the Bronx, if you know what's good for you. So I'm sure the Florida sun has chilled her out slightly. So thank you, everybody. This has been Kingdom Life Women Podcast. And I hope to see you again next Wednesday when we will drop our brand new episode.